Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paddocks. This winter episode, we're talking about the milestones you may have missed last season, and we have Amy, Meg, and myself, Chelsea, here to break it down. We're going to start quick with some drivers that had milestones you may have missed.
Now, you might have missed this one. You probably didn't. I feel like I remember hearing about this when it happened, but in case you missed it, Lewis Hamilton had a win in the 2024 season at the British Grand Prix, which marked his ninth win at that specific race, breaking his tie with Michael Schumacher for the most victories at a single Grand Prix, which I just think is kind of crazy when you think about it, because that's a pretty hard thing to do. I mean, he has also had a very long career, so it's not that surprising. Now, this next one, I'm not sure if you call this a good milestone, but it's a milestone nonetheless, and that is the fact that Nico Hulkenberg set an unenviable milestone, surpassing Andrea de Cesare to become the driver with the most Grand Prix starts without a victory. I'm sorry, Nico, but this is by far the funniest thing to me. Though it does kind of suck because he came into F1 with so much hype around him at the start of his career, and he just has not been able to back it up. That's at least my personal opinion. I'm not stating true fact here, that is just my perspective. But again, I don't know if that's a good milestone or a bad milestone.
No, that's definitely not the best milestone to have. It is sadly funny to me, but we have to remember he tried his best with the car he had. At least this season. I can't vouch for any of the other seasons. Haas did at least double points this year, though. Okay, we're gonna respect that milestone. Their first double points in a race since like 2018, at Azerbaijan. So you know the small milestones count for the big ones that they also may have may have had.
And then, of course, a PGP fave, everyone's favorite Florida man, Logan Hunter Sargent, scored points for Williams at the Singapore Grand Prix and became the first American driver in over 30 years to earn points.
Wait, okay. This was one of my favorite milestones of the season. It was. I am so thankful I got to meet the kid before he was kicked out of F1 and get my hat signed. Obviously because I don't know when we're going to see another American on the grid, but like above that, he was a Florida boy. Okay? He wasn't great, but he represented where it counted. On my end as someone from Florida, Miami, I was like, "You know what? We got one in there." I would love to see another American take F1 though and get more points. So that would be another great milestone to see one day.
I have to 120% second what Chelsea just said. We really need another American in F1 like ASAP. Is it going to happen in the next few years? I'm not sure. I don't know who it would be, um, but we need it to happen, please. I'm manifesting this to the F1 gods as we speak.
I think we will see one with Cadillac's entry into F1 in 2026. My money is on Colton Herta. I strongly believe that he is going to be the American representative for that team just because he already drives for Andretti. He does well with Andretti. And I don't know if anyone has seen, I forget what podcast Hinch was just on, but he was asked, like, of the like IndyCar drivers, or I guess other drivers outside of F1, or maybe it was just Indy. He asked who are the Indy drivers he thinks could do well in F1 and vice versa. And his top pick was like Colton. So I think we could see him. Um, I mean, Alex Palu, but he's not American. He's from Spain. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think Colton Herta is definitely a good shout for that F1 seat.
Honestly, the only other acceptable option for Cadillac, if they're not going with Colton, is Pato Award because he is the most American adjacent. I feel like he's just the only other option, in my opinion. I would just love to see Pato in F1, but I think a lot of Pato fans would love to see Pato in F1. Now, we have to talk about somebody who has been in Formula One for an insanely long amount of time, and that is Fernando Alonso. This man has extended his record as the driver with the most races finished. By the end of the 2023 season, he had 301 race finishes. After 2024, he had 324 races finished. I mean, again, none of this is surprising because he also has the record for the longest gap between career start and the last career start, or the latest career start. And at the moment, his record sits at 23 years, 9 months, and 4 days. The man is in his 40s. I'm not surprised. He's been in F1 longer than half of the new drivers on the 2025 grid have even been alive. Most of them weren't born when he had his last win, which is sad to think about. Um, but nonetheless, this man has been doing it for a real long time. His career started in 2001, so it's simple math.
He's been driving longer than I've been alive. So that's that's crazy cuz I was born in 2002. So, yeah, baby me. But I don't know. I wonder how much longer we'll see Fernando in the sport. Just cuz with Aston and Honda taking over, who knows what'll happen because we know about the beef with Honda and Fernando with McLaren. So, I don't know. But personally, I don't think this next thing is a small win. I think this is a gargantuan win. But Lando's first race win in Miami this past season, it took him 110 races. It was a matter of if and not when with him. And I'm just so happy he finally got it because he deserved it. And McLaren finally has produced a good enough car to where he can win races. And it was funny because just before he won, he set the new record for the F1 driver with the most podiums without a win, which that was 14 podiums. So, I don't know. I guess that's another win having all those podiums. But now he has his wins, and he has other wins, such as when he won in Zandvoort, Singapore, and Abu Dhabi. So, can't wait to see more from him.
And you know what? Take that, no one's Lando. Okay, you were really annoying up in this, but take that.
But also, like, in a way, thank you to whoever started the whole, like, Lando no wins thing, because that Miami win merch drop was, like, absolutely fantastic. It's my favorite thing I own. I have just a t-shirt with a picture on the back. It's so sick. I love it. But, like, thank you for at least giving him an excuse to make some kick-ass merch.
Yeah, I have the sweatshirt and the shirt because who else would have thought that what?
All I can think is Lando's pain was our gain.
No facts. You're so right. Also his gain too because he capitalized on the no wins thing. He said I'll get that check considering I contributed to that, Amy contributed to that, and I know there's other girls in the Paddock's Girls podcast who contributed to that. And now he's Lando 4 wins. So who's laughing now? But after his win in Sao Paulo, Max broke Michael Schumacher's record of most consecutive days in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, which was 896 days, which is pretty impressive because that's more than a year. That's like, what, over 2 years? Yeah, there's 365 days in a year. Yeah, that's like almost 3 years. That's crazy. Hopefully, someone can break that record this year. Fingers crossed.
Now, obviously, everybody calls him the GOAT for a reason. Lewis Hamilton extended his record as the driver with the most front row starts. His current total is 176, and he extended his record as the driver with the most career laps led. He currently sits at 5,486 laps. 500, I don't know. He is currently at 5,486 laps, which is just like insane to think about the fact that he has driven over 5,000 laps. Like, I'm sorry, what? Make it make sense. Now, if you have been listening to PGP for any semblance of time, you know that we love our favorite Finns. So I have to mention the fact that Valtteri Bottas celebrated his 200th F1 race at the Austrian Grand Prix this year, joining the Elite 200 club of drivers. VB, we love you so very much. Congratulations. That's just such a cool feat. Um, But while we could talk about all of the epic wins of the drivers, we do have to talk about the wins for some of the teams. And I have to talk about somebody who is just slowly becoming a team that, like, I really want to see succeed and do well, and that is Alpine. And for the first time, Alpine completed 10 consecutive races without a single mechanical failure. I really, really, really hope that they are able to continue and keep up that momentum in 2025. I've got my fingers crossed for you guys. Also, shameless plug, if you're not following us on Threads and Alpine on Threads, the Alpine admin on Threads is an absolute legend and icon. They send up the most chaotic stuff on Threads. It's just so good. So if you don't follow them, I suggest it.
No, yes, not no. Alpine has always been a hit or miss for me. Honestly, for me, that team is very dependent on like who the driver is, on whether I'll support it or not. I'm not like an Alpine fan, but I do like Pierre, and I would like him to have another good season. He did have a small win, actually, funny enough, this season where he got his first sprint race with Belgian. And I think that could happen again in 2025 if they just keep going in the direction they're going, because last season was phenomenal compared to 2023. So the wins count, people.
I mean, considering how much of a tractor that car was in 2023, to like actually being able to score points and like Pierre at least qualify in what he qualified in the top 5 a couple of times, like that's crazy. And this was Sao Paulo was also the first time that Alpine has had both of its drivers on the podium since its takeover of Enstone. The last time that they've had both drivers on the podium was when the team was Lotus. So, long time ago. But forward progress, look into the future, and I do really like Pierre and I do really like Jack Doohan. So, I'm really hopeful that they can have a better season than what they've had in the past. And once again, not a small win, but a huge win. This is McLaren's first time since 1998 winning the Constructors' Championship. 26 years. Once again, older than me. This is their 9th Constructors' Championship title, which ties them with Williams for the second most Constructors' Championships in F1 history. So, I'd love to see them get another one. We're going on that train again with forward momentum going into next year. Let's go, McLaren.
I love that Meg has just called me old like 3 times throughout this episode without actually saying it. I love you, but like, damn, I feel old as hell, y'all.
Every time we record with Meg, I feel ancient. And whoever's listening to this, you're going to feel ancient too if you're even over the age of like 25 at this point. But you know what? Let's go back to McLaren. Huge win. Huge win. They don't make fun of me for being old. I do like them, and I really think that McLaren has definitely had some of their best moments this season. It's been amazing, especially with Lando and Oscar being the ones to help them achieve that. Because honestly, I'm a huge fan of both guys, and that rarely happens on teams. I usually just like one of them. No, I love both of them. And I feel like they're another team that they really came from the trenches a season ago. Okay. They were the tractor we were making fun of, and now we're kind of like, oh, I would love to continue seeing that into next season because I really think they're one of the top teams that are going to end up being the top three next season.
I mean, from them going to a race where Lando was like constantly going to the pits to basically keep his car alive to now, like, it's iconic. I have no notes for them. As the 2024 season went on, the more I really, really wanted to see McLaren do well. And that is coming from somebody who has been supporting Red Bull since 2011.
Yeah. I mean, as a McLaren girl, I'd obviously love to see success. And I want to see more than just a Constructors' Championship next year. I want to see a Drivers' Championship, too. And we already kind of mentioned Cadillac, but they will become the 11th team on the grid starting in 2026. This is the first time since 2016, which, by the way, I didn't realize it was like kind of as recent. I mean, 2016, like to me, that feels like not that long ago, but like numbers wise, I feel like it is kind of long ago. Anyways, I feel like it was like before like the early 2000s that there were more than 10 teams on the grid, but I guess not. Uh, that there will actually be more than 10 teams on the grid since 2016. There has been strong opposition from existing teams, and fun fact, Liberty Media, although the current rules do state that there can be up to 12 teams on the grid, which I didn't know that there was like a cap. I just always thought it was whoever had the money can do it. But now we know it can be up to 12 teams.
I, for one, am super excited to see how silly season 2025 is going to go with Caddy coming onto the track, especially with the fact that Liam, Kimmy, George, Jack, Isaac, and Yuki are all out of contracts come the end of this upcoming season. Yes, yes, I know everybody and their mother has probably heard the rumors that Jack Doohan is probably only going to get the first 5 to 6 races before Franco Colapinto takes over. I am semi delusionally manifesting that Jack is going to get a full season because, like, at this point, it feels like contracts are simply a suggestion or something because what is happening? I'm really excited. I think silly season this year is just going to be crazy. Get your corkboard and string out, people, because I think it's going to be absolute madness. Now, I do want to talk about something that may not necessarily be a win in the traditional sense, but I think it's really important to bring up. And that is the fact that the Singapore Grand Prix became the first race to feature a fully solar powered paddock area, reducing its carbon footprint significantly. I really, really hope that more standing circuits add things to reduce their carbon footprint and just be better for the environment overall. I'm really hoping we're going to see some changes like that in this upcoming season, but only time will tell.
No, I definitely agree. I think that was one of my favorite track updates that we got out of this season. I understand that these kind of like upgrades are a really huge undertaking when it comes to like cost and setup and being able to really actually achieve, you know, kind of I don't know if it was 100% that the electricity or whatever was being done by solar panel, but even if it was 80%, like that's a huge achievement for something that is so big for 3 days, that is literally known for having lights because it's a Singapore night race. And I think that's also why it makes it also so much more significant. This is a night race. This is even more reason that they need so much electricity to fund this event. And I feel like a lot of other races, especially tracks like Miami or Texas that are in these very sun-filled locations, could follow in the footsteps because we can totally achieve that. And Miami specifically, they have so much space on top of the Dolphin stadiums and like things like that where solar paneling, to me at least, if you can put it on the house, you can put it anywhere. So I would love to see them kind of integrate that more if they're actually trying to become more eco-friendly. And I bet Sebastian Vettel could actually be one of the people to like push that forward if he wanted to. But like save the beast, save Earth. Same thing, right?
I mean, it is fully possible to solar power a football stadium. The Link here in Philly, they're 100% solar powered. So it's fully possible. And I think the Hard Rock Stadium should definitely look into it because they don't just host football there, they host so many things there. And two, with like the World Cup coming up, like think of how much energy, I mean, well, energy they could store, but also like how much money they would save.
Let me not talk shit on my Dolphins. Let me take it back. Apparently, they have solar panels and they are actually 100% based off renewable energy. They also use wind power. And another thing is they have water conservation systems within like the stadium, which makes sense because they do have a lot of water stands. So like, oh, I guess maybe, for them it's not something that they mentioned because the race was done around the stadium. The stadium wasn't made for the race. Maybe that would make sense. But okay, shout out to the Dolphins. Y'all trying. Y'all trying.
I would just love to see like the circuits that are like built, like not street circuits at like Monza. Like they're in a pretty open spot of Italy where I think they get a lot of sun. So like it's totally possible. I don't know. We'll see. But speaking of Monza, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza set a new attendance record. over the 2024 season, which in some ways doesn't surprise me at all because I feel like Monza is on every single Ferrari fan's bucket list. Heck, I'm not even a big Ferrari fan, and it's on my bucket list.
Yeah, it's definitely a place to go, I think. Even if you're just like into F1 in general, just because of the atmosphere in Monza, like the things I've heard about it, it just seems crazy, especially now with Lewis being a driver. Like I've seen things that they're upping security and it's just going to be even more. So I guarantee you that attendance record is going to be broken this year. So good for Monza though, because it's a win for them. Win for them. Sales. Love it. But another big F1 win that I would consider as a win is honestly the growing popularity of the sport. I think it was dying for a while, at least in America, because I feel like F1 has always been like a European thing, and they've just considered IndyCar like our version of F1, and that's honestly not even that popular in the US either. But I know like Drive to Survive is a very controversial topic when it comes to F1, and a lot of fans don't like it, but you can't not credit it for its helping with the sport's popularity and the emerging fan bases. I mean, I'll admit it, I watched it and it definitely rekindled my love for the sport. Like, I've always loved motorsport ever since I was a kid, but I kind of grew away from it. So, having that made me realize what I was missing, and it's especially helped its popularity in the US. Like, that's something they've been targeting. So, like, I know I saw another podcast where they interviewed the guy. It wasn't Roger Penske, but I guess one of the main guys who owns the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And he was saying that they basically don't have an Indy GP anymore because of cost and the fact that nobody would come. And I think they could now, but they're just afraid. But once again, goes to show that DTS has actually helped. And I know people hate to admit it, but you can't discredit it for doing what it set out to do.
I, for one, really, really hope that we continue to see a rise in specifically female F1 fans. I know that Drive to Survive has been a gateway for a lot of new fans, and I do hope it continues to be that kind of bridge for a lot of new fans. But I just love seeing the growth in the fan base. Back in November of 2022, it was reported that 40% of F1's fan base was female, which I think is an absolute major, major win for the girls. I seeing that stat is just like awesome. It warms my heart. So hopefully we keep seeing that number go up. I think it will, but only time's really going to tell for us. Now, I want to talk about what records we think could get broken in the 2025 season. And this is kind of just like theoretical and like my random ideas. In theory, if another team, aka McLaren or Ferrari, really, really nails their car for this year, they could come for Max's 2023 record of the highest percentage of wins in a season, which is 22 races with 19 wins at 86.36%. Again, this is just like in theory. I'd love to see a team try to come for that record, even just come close, because I feel like that record is just like really hard, going to be really hard to beat. Speaking of Max and Max's crazy records, someone also technically could come for his most consecutive wins title too, which he also set in 2023 with 10 consecutive wins. I'd love to see Lando try to make a nab at that title. Is McLaren going to give him the car to do it? We'll find out. They've been inconsistent sometimes, but they really seem to kind of nail the car towards the midway point of last season. So we'll find out. I really personally would love to see a driver take most consecutive wins for the first race of the season, which is currently tied between Nigel Mansell and Michael Schumacher with five. Um, We're going to find out.
I, for one, am hoping that the year of 2025 is the year of Lando Norris, and he can break all of those records. I mean, he's already broken records as a kid, being the youngest karting champion when he was in his karting days. Like, he has that 14 podiums without a win record. It's not like a great one, but he's got it. Um, and I think that now that McLaren has the confidence of a team once again, having that Constructors' Championship, they have kind of helped the drivers feel confident. Although there have been some moments, like we've mentioned. And I'm just excited to see a good fight for 2025, honestly. Like, I think it's up in the air as to what the heck is going to happen. And honestly, I just thought of a theory right now. I'm calling it. Abby Pulling does a free practice session with Alpine. I'm calling it. I'm going to theorize it right now. We're going to see Abby Pulling in an F1 car this year. Mark my words. We're going to see it.
Okay, no. I love your confidence. I love it. I will say, in the making of this episode, I did not put much thought into the F1 girlies. I'm sorry to the F1 girlies, if you hear this. Y'all should have been on here. Listen, though, give me a sec. We'll do another episode for you. But, anyways, I would love to see them give just a couple more opportunities to the drivers out there, especially the ones that maybe just don't have like a lot of direction right now. Because there are also female one drivers that didn't make it into the academy, but could totally like benefit from an opportunity to be in a Formula One car, even if it's just a testing kind of thing. So I would love to see that. But I am more with Meg on like the fact that I can't even begin to guess on like a record by a driver being broken. Maybe I feel like Lewis could break a Ferrari record specifically now that he's going to be joining their team. And I feel like that's something he would want to do as part of like his legacy in joining Ferrari. Like that's probably going to be one of his goals. And I also feel like I could see the same for Lawson. Honestly, this kid scares me a little bit in the sense that I feel like he has a Max Verstappen drive. Um, and obviously maybe I'm just going off vibes there. I could be completely wrong on that. But he gives me that kind of I don't know, aura when he does his interviews. So I feel like him joining officially now onto the Formula One grid, he's actually someone that could possibly start breaking records. I don't know when, how, I don't know if it's gonna be this season, but I don't know. I feel like him and Max he's really gonna be fighting. And he might actually be able to win. So that's what I'm guessing this year. Records broken specifically within Red Bull and Ferrari because those teams are going to be the highest ones competing in my head with one another too.
I mean, you already know that Lewis is absolutely going to be gunning for giving Ferrari a constructors and a drivers title. He's absolutely coming for Kimi Räikkönen's crown right now. Not that I blame him. Go for it, dude. Like, pop off. Meg mentioning Dorian and Alpine. I personally would love to see our American girlie, Leah Block, and Williams. Please, Williams, make it happen. We love Leah. I love Leah. She's an icon. She's the moment. I would just absolutely lose my absolute mind to see her in an F1 car.
Honestly, now that we're talking about this, I would just love to see them do like a women's test like they did in Formula E, where they had all women driving. Like, I think that would be another great opportunity because, like Chelsea was talking about, then you could pull from women who aren't even in the academies because that's what they did for Formula E. It wasn't all just F1 Academy girls. Like, the ones that I think it was just what Abby, Jess, Naria, and like it
Bianca.
wasn't Bianca. Like, it wasn't that many girls who are from the academy. I mean, there were some that are joining it, but I don't know. I just think it would create a lot of opportunity.
I always found it kind of funny that Formula E beat F1 to doing an all women's test when like they're supposed to like with F1 Academy, you'd assume that they're championing women just in motorsport, but apparently Formula E decided to go, nope, hold our beer. I love it. I think it's iconic. I really am excited to see what happens with F1 Academy. I'd love to see F1 Academy break some records. I don't know. I don't know if, I mean, obviously there are none, but I'd love to see them, quote, setting records or at least trying to come up with some records. I think it's going to be a little hard for that series to do that when they only give drivers 2 seasons in the car, but it is what it is. I feel like I'd love to see an F1 driver try to go for like highest percentages of like pole positions in a season. It's currently held by Nigel Mansell with 16 races and 14 poles, so like it is attainable. That's not like an insane number. It's not like it's, oh, you did like 15 poles in 15 races, but like I don't know. I'd love to see someone go for that. I feel like a lot of the current F1 records are from like older seasons, and I'd love to just see them get overtaken by a more current driver, but that's just me.
Okay, so technically on the topic, I did look for it. There is a record to be broken in Formula One Academy, and there is one set. Last year, it was the British driver Abby Pooling. She set a new record for getting 8 wins throughout the total season. Her last one at the Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. But and this record was officially technically set by Mata Garcia because she was there for the first season in 2023, and she had gotten 7 wins. Someone broke her record by 1 win. This is all we need for Max, by the way. And this is just honestly exceptional performance throughout the season. This is something that these girls like consistently were on top of their game and they were going for the first position. And I will say it's very interesting to watch Formula One Academy because even they kind of have like their own Max Verstappen every season. And again, I love going for the underdog, but it's kind of nice, having a female Max Verstappen out there in her own category.
Speaking of Abby Pulling, I just remembered she raced in British Formula 4 this year. And by doing that, she won twice. And she's the first woman to win in British F4 ever. So, once again, like Chelsea said, I think she's the female version of Max. Like, I think she has a good shot of ending up in Formula one day. Like, legitimately. Not to discredit any of these other girls, because obviously, like, I think they're all super talented, and obviously I can't get in a car and do what they do. But I think, based on her success in the past, and what's happened this year in F1 Academy and British Formula 4, and if she decides to race in GP3 this year, since she has the seat because she won the F1 Academy Championship, I don't know. I think she's got a real shot. And I've been saying this for a while now. Listen, girl, I'm backing you up. You also acknowledged me on X, so I got you, girl. Like, I got you, Abby.
The record that I think is potentially, in theory, maybe kind of sorta something that could be broken is youngest pole sitter because it's currently held by Sebastian Vettel because he had his first pole in 2008 at the Italian Grand Prix and he was like 21 years old in 72 days. And Isaac Hadjar, um, Gabriel Bortoleto, and oh, who's the other one? There's one more. Kimi Antonelli are all younger than 21. So if any of them put it on pole, they immediately take that position. I mean, imagine if Kimi Antonelli put it on pole and you've got a friggin' 18-year-old. That record is never going to be beaten if he gets that. Oh, good God.
I just felt so old hearing you say that. Just 18? And he's driving a car that fast. And we put them in these cars.
He was born in 2006. 2006. I feel so old.
Listen, that even makes me feel old, and I'm the young one. Like, that's the year my sister was born. He's my sister's age. That's crazy. Like, I didn't know what I was doing with my life at 18. I mean, I'm only 4 years older now, but like, still, I still don't know what I'm doing. Like, that's, no, 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 no. I guess good for him that he's getting paid millions of dollars at 18 years old, but maybe he can break that record. We'll see.
I will say with these young drivers on the grid, I'm kind of waiting for one to show up that has that Alonso energy of the braking, where he's like, I knew he wouldn't brake because he has a family at home. I want one of them to have that energy because they're so young. They should have that energy. And that's what I need from watching Formula One.
That is 100% going to be the crazy Kiwi that is Liam Lawson. Yes, he's only 22 years old, but he is absolutely going to full send it. We've already seen him do that. He does not give a flying F.
Or will it be Fernando's protege and Gabriel, since he is literally under Fernando's wing, and Fernando could be saying, listen, kid, you're like this old. We have like, there's people here with like families and stuff. Although I think, is the only one with a family Nico currently? Right? No? You can interject.
Nico has a family. Max has a baby on the
Oh,
way,
that's true. I forgot about
technically.
Max.
But now that Kevin is off the grid, there's nobody else with a family outside of Nico. Nobody else has kids.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, maybe that rule won't apply. Maybe they'll all just say, screw it. Like, although a lot of them have partners, so I guess that's considered family. But, I don't know. I could see Gabriel pulling a Fernando, though, since he is a mini him.
Oscar's not allowed to pull that because his mom will kick his ass. So,
Not only will she kick his butt, she will probably drag him on the internet because Nicole Piastri is an absolute legend.
however, I hope she's there when he breaks the record because that would be beautiful.
And to close out our episode, we have a quote. And I kind of dug for this one because I wanted to find a little bit more of an obscure quote. And the quote is, I'm an artist, the track is my canvas, and my car is my brush. And that is from Graham Hill, aka the Gentleman Racer, and the original Mr. Monaco. As always, thank you so much for joining us in the paddock. We've covered some really big milestones that we missed in the 2024 season, those moments that slipped through the cracks but helped shape the year. It's been an absolute wild ride, and there's so much to look forward to as we head into the next season. Don't forget to subscribe to us, leave us a review, follow us everywhere. We are Paddock Girls Podcast, except for Twitter and Blue Sky, where we are Paddock Girls Pod. We will see you in our next Winter Break episode. Bye!
Bye. Ciao.